The day she married into the wealthy Adeyemi family, the guests smiled, the music played, the cameras flashed. But behind every smile was fear. Behind every blessing was a secret. And behind every closed door in that mansion, something was waiting. For generations, every bride who married into this family never lived to see her first anniversary. They all died, mysteriously, silently, one by one. Now, Amara has taken the place of the last bride. And on her very first night in the mansion, she begins to hear footsteps in empty hallways, doors opening on their own, and a soft, sorrowful whisper calling her name. What she doesn't know is this. The curse is not the scariest part. The truth behind it is far darker. Tonight, she will meet the bride who came before her. And the secret that has haunted this family for years will finally rise to the surface. Welcome to The Lady Who Married into a Curse. Nkechi Umidi, a beautiful black African lady in her late 20s, stood before a full-length mirror inside her bridal suite. Her white gown shimmered like moonlight on calm water, makeup flawless, jewelry sparkling. Everything about her looked like a fairy tale. Everything except her eyes. Her smile wavered. Her fingers trembled. It was her wedding day, yet her heart drummed with a fear she couldn't explain. There was something deeply wrong with this family she was marrying into. But she was already in love, and love blinds even the brightest mind. Behind her, her maid of honor, Ngozi, pinned the veil gently. "You look scared," she whispered. "I'm fine," Nkechi lied. But she wasn't. Not after what she overheard that morning. As she walked past the guest rooms earlier, she heard two elderly women whispering in Igbo, voices low and urgent. Another bride in the family. And they still won't stop this wedding. You know how it ends. The curse never misses. Exactly 1 year. Never more. Nkechi froze when she heard her fiancé's surname, Izugo. She wanted to confront him. Ask him. Demand the truth. But Chike, her groom, had looked so happy all morning. So peaceful. So in love. So unaware of her fears. She couldn't bring herself to ruin the day. Ngozi tapped her shoulder. "Snap out of your thoughts. You're getting married to the love of your life." Nkechi nodded weakly. But in her heart, one question echoed. A curse. And why did everyone act like it was normal? The door swung open and Chike's mother walked in. Madame Ebelezugo, elegant, graceful, and yet carrying the stiff aura of someone hiding too many secrets. "My dear," she said softly, "are you ready?" Nkechi forced a smile. "Yes, Mama." Madame Ebel looked at her long and hard, eyes softening with what looked like pity. "May God guide you," she whispered. Nkechi's breath trembled. Why did it sound like a prayer for the doomed? Moments later, music filled the air. The crowd stood. Chike waited at the end of the aisle, beaming with overwhelming joy as Nkechi walked toward him. The ceremony was beautiful, almost magical. The vows heartfelt, the cheers loud, the kiss warm and tender. To everyone watching, it was the perfect marriage. But the moment the officiator declared them husband and wife, a cold gust of wind blew through the hall, snuffing out half the candles. Gasps filled the room. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the back, an old woman muttered, "It has begun." Nkechi shivered when she looked at her new husband. Even Chike seemed shaken, though he quickly masked it with a smile. Hours later, after the dancing, the gifts, and the laughter, the newlyweds retreated to their private chamber. Chike, tired but excited, uncorked a bottle of wine while Nkechi sat silently on the bed. He turned to her with a bright smile. "My wife, my love, talk to me. You've been quiet all day." Nkechi swallowed hard. "Chike, is there something I should know about your family?" Chike froze. "Nkechi, who told you?" he asked softly, voice trembling. "Is it true?" she whispered. "Is there really a curse?" Chike took a long breath. His eyes glistened. "My love, I wanted to tell you. I truly did. But I was scared you'd leave me." Her heart pounded. "Chike, what curse?" He sat beside her, took her hands gently. "Every woman who marries into my family dies within exactly 1 year," he said quietly. Nkechi felt her blood turn cold. "But listen," he continued. "I will protect you. I won't let it happen to you. I promise." She stared at him in disbelief. How do you fight a curse older than generations? A curse every bride before her had fallen to. A curse that had already marked her from the day she said, "I do." Before Nkechi could speak, a loud, heavy knock thundered on their chamber door. Bam! 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 Chaik jumped to his feet. "Who is it?" he called out. No answer. Just silence. Terrifying, suffocating silence. Then suddenly, the door handle twisted. Nkechi gasped. Chaik rushed forward, bracing the door with his shoulder. "Stay behind me," he shouted. But the force on the other side grew stronger and stronger, shaking the entire doorframe as though something, not someone, wanted to come inside. Nkechi's scream echoed through the entire estate. And that was only the beginning. She had married into a curse. And now the curse had come to claim her. The first night in the mansion felt nothing like the joyful beginning of a new marriage. Amara lay beside her husband, David, listening to the unsettling rhythm of the old building. Every crack, every quiet thud, every whisper of moving air felt alive. The mansion seemed to breathe. David slept peacefully, one arm draped over her. His warmth helped, but anxiety still curled itself inside her stomach. "Every bride dies within a year." The line she overheard earlier echoed in her mind like a haunting lullaby. By midnight she couldn't sleep. A faint sound, like footsteps, drifted from the hallway. Low, measured, approaching. Amara sat up. "No one else lives in this wing," David had told her earlier. The footsteps stopped right outside their bedroom door. Her breath hitched. The knob twisted, gently, hesitantly. She scrambled back, clutching the duvet. Then the door opened. A cold gust of air swept in. But no one stood there. Absolutely no one. The corridor was empty. Yet the floorboards slowly creaked, as if an invisible presence walked away. Amara covered her mouth to keep from screaming. She shook David awake. "David, something was here." He blinked, still half asleep. "Love, this house is old. The wood shifts at night." "No," she whispered. "Someone opened that door." David looked at the door, wide open, swaying slightly. A shadow passed over his face, but he forced a smile. "Come. Let me check." He stepped into the hallway. Nothing. Silence. Stillness. But he didn't tell her what he saw. A faint trail of wet footprints, leading down the hall. Small footprints, or like those of a woman. They shimmered, then slowly faded. David's eyes tightened, but he hid it. "All clear," he said softly and closed the door. Still shaken, Amara finally drifted asleep, and dreamed of a woman in a soaked wedding gown, staring at her with hollow eyes. The next morning brought sunlight but not peace. David had left early for business with his father, the patriarch of the Adeyemi family. The mansion suddenly felt too large, too quiet. Amara wandered into the library, a massive, high-ceilinged room filled with books so old their spines were nearly dust. She loved reading and she hoped it would distract her. She found nothing but old genealogies. Mothers, daughters, brides, widows, all from David's bloodline. Every bride died young. Every bride's portrait had a strange mark near the lower corner, a faint symbol that looked like a twisted ring. Amara's throat tightened. Is the curse real? That was when she noticed something odd. One shelf had a gap. Book was missing. A thick space covered in dust, except for 2 clean fingerprints. Someone had taken it recently. Mrs. Adeyemi, David's mother, walked in quietly. She wore a gentle smile, but her eyes carried an emotion Amara couldn't place. Grief? Sympathy? Guilt? "You're settling in?" she asked warmly. "Yes, Mama," Amara replied. "I'm getting used to the house." Mrs. Adeyemi looked at the window instead of her. "It takes time. This place holds many memories. Amara hesitated, then asked, Mama, what happened to David's first bride? Mrs. Adeyemi stiffened. Her fingers tightened around the edge of a bookshelf. Who told you about her? She asked quietly. I overheard someone yesterday. And I saw her portrait. The older woman closed her eyes briefly. Then she turned to face Amara. Her name was Nnenna, she said. She died 11 months after the wedding. How? Amara whispered. Mrs. Adeyemi swallowed hard. She drowned, she replied. Inside this house. Amara's blood ran cold. How can someone drown inside a mansion? She whispered. Mrs. Adeyemi didn't answer. Instead, she walked toward the door. David must be the one to tell you the rest. And she left. But Amara could tell. The woman had not told her the whole truth. And just as she turned back to the shelves, something caught her eye. On the table. A book she had not touched. A heavy, leather-bound journal. The missing one. It was open to a page written in a woman's trembling handwriting. If you are reading this, then the curse has chosen you. Amara's hand shook. And the ink beneath those words was still wet. The journal felt heavier than anything Amara had ever held. As she flipped through the trembling pages, each line seemed to pulse with fear. The handwriting grew more frantic with every entry. Smudged ink, shaky letters, sentences that broke off midway. It was Nnenna's journal. The first bride. David's first wife. Her words whispered a chilling truth. The curse is passed from bride to bride. The spirit seeks the new wife every generation. Amara's heartbeat quickened. Spirit. What spirit? She turned another page. She appears at night. What? Silent. Searching. A cold shiver ran through Amara's spine. The footsteps. The door opening. She suddenly remembered the footprints David had tried to hide. The next entry grew darker. She drowned on her wedding night. And until another takes her place, she cannot rest. Amara's breathing grew sharp. A soft thud echoed from behind her. She turned and froze. A woman stood by the window. Her wedding dress clung to her like soaked cloth. Her hair dripped as if she had risen straight out of deep, dark water. Her face was pale, swollen, her eyes deep shadows. Water pooled under her feet, spreading across the floor. The drowned bride. Nnenna. Amara stumbled backward, gasping. Please don't come near me. The spirit lifted her head, and her lips parted, whispering a hoarse, watery sound. Help me. Not anger. Not violence. Just unbearable sorrow. Before Amara could respond, the library door swung open. Mrs. Adeyemi and David rushed in, faces pale, eyes wide. David grabbed Amara, shielding her behind him. Mrs. Adeyemi whispered, trembling. She has never appeared to the living before. The spirit reached out a dripping hand. Not toward Amara. Toward David. Her voice cracked like a broken wave. You, let me drown. Amara's heart dropped. David's face shattered with guilt. He whispered, Nnenna, I tried to save you. But the spirit let out a haunting, hollow cry that shook the windows. The truth was coming apart. And the real story was more horrifying than the curse. The drowned bride's cry echoed through the library like a wave shattering against stone. Books trembled on their shelves. Glass rattled in their frames. And the mansion, ancient, heavy with secrets, seemed to pulse with pain. David stood frozen, guilt carving itself across his face. Mrs. Adeyemi leaned against the wall, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. Amara, though terrified, stepped forward. Something inside her had shifted. This spirit wasn't a monster. She was a woman whose story had been blurred into legend, into fear, into a curse. Amara gently touched David's trembling hand. Tell me the truth, she whispered. All of it. David looked at her, really looked, realizing he could no longer hide behind silence or shame. He drew a long, broken breath. It happened on the night of our wedding, he began. Nnenna was overwhelmed. The family, the expectations, the pressure. Mrs. Adeyemi lowered her head, her guilt clear. David continued, voice cracking. She ran from the hall. Followed her. I found her by the indoor fountain, crying. She said she felt trapped, that the marriage didn't feel chosen. A tear rolled down David's cheek. I begged her to talk to me. But she pulled away, slipped, hit her head, and fell into the water. The drowned bride's spirit flickered, her form rippling. Amara asked softly, "And then what happened?" David swallowed. I jumped in. I lifted her out. But she wasn't breathing. I tried to revive her. I screamed for help. Mrs. Adeyemi whispered, voice breaking. We didn't hear him. The music, the celebration. It drowned everything. David's eyes darkened at the memory. I failed her. I couldn't save her. The spirit raised her hand, pointing at him, watery tears streaming down her translucent face. You left me, she whispered. David collapsed to his knees. No, he choked. I never left you. I held you until help came. I held you long after they said it was over. He pressed a shaking hand to his chest. You were my first love. Your death destroyed me. I blamed myself every day. The spirit wavered. The anger around her dimmed, replaced by confusion, sorrow, recognition. Amara stepped closer, speaking gently. Nnenna, you died hurt, scared, and alone. That kind of pain can anchor a soul. But look at him. Look at your family. They didn't abandon you. They've carried your shadow for years. The spirit's watery eyes turned toward Mrs. Adeyemi. The older woman sobbed openly now. I am sorry, she whispered. I should have listened to you. I should have seen the pressure we placed on you. Forgive me. Water dripped softly from the spirit's gown. She looked between them, David, his mother, and finally Amara. You, the spirit said, her voice directed at Amara. You are not afraid. Amara shook her head. I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of letting fear win. You deserve peace, Nnenna. Not this house. Not chains of sorrow. Silence filled the room. Then something miraculous happened. The spirit's pale face softened. Her shoulders relaxed. Her dripping gown began to lighten. She slowly reached out her hand. David hesitated, but Amara nodded. With shaking fingers.